Monday Night Raw starts off with a Jey Uso and Paul Heyman promo. It starts off with Jey Uso felt like that. Jey Uso ended up starting off the promo with saying that Paul Heyman has a lot of guts coming up to him, alluding to what happened at Mania after betraying his cousin. Paul Heyman responds back, basically ends up giving his reasonings for why he betrayed Paul Roman Reigns and CM Punk, because Jey Uso was talking about how he knew that Paul Heyman was not to be trusted, and how that he was a snake, and that he warned Roman and he warned CM Punk as well. Paul Heyman responds back, ends up saying that the reason why he betrayed CM Punk was basically because due to CM Punk's favor, he ended up putting a wedge in between him and Roman Reigns, and he said he felt like that was unfair. Then he alluded to Roman, and he ends up basically taking credit for basically everything the bloodline. He ends up saying that he built up Roman, he built the bloodline. He ends up saying that all the hard work he put into the bloodline just for Roman to throw it all the way at WrestleMania 40 by being distracted by Seth Rollins. Then he ends up mentioning after he left, after he lost at Mania 40, that he left him all by himself to deal with Solo. When he got put through the table, that Roman didn't come back. He only came back to get his Ula follow. Paul Heyman ends up, he made some great points. He made some great points. He still got booed. The crowd was not messing with it. The crowd was still booing him. But he made great points because, logically speaking, Paul Heyman should be the babyface, logically. But, due to, just Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman actually being the actual wrestlers and them being loved, they're going to be the babyface in this scenario. But logically speaking, he does have a good point. He is right. But afterwards, Jey Uso ends up just saying that what does any of this have to do with him? Paul Heyman responds, ends up basically saying that Seth Rollins wants a title shot and he wants an opportunity at the World Heavyweight Championship. Jey Uso basically accepts. Now, technically, this was supposed to be like a trap or like a setup to trick Jey into giving him the match, even though I feel like Jey Uso would have gave him the match either way, to be fair. I get what they was trying to go for here, but I feel like since Jey Uso is a babyface, typically babyfaces don't back down from a challenge. I feel like if Seth Rollins would have just came out there and just asked for a title shot, he would have just gave him a title shot. Like I don't think Jey Uso would have declined. Like it's their own, and plus, didn't Seth Rollins and Jey Uso become like somewhat friends during Jey Uso's babyface run? So it's like I don't feel like they needed to do all this. Now, it did lead to the main event. Well, to be fair, no, I feel like the same thing could have happened in the main event. But I will say it made it somewhat better, I guess. But I feel like all of the stuff they did, the opening segment was good. I just felt like it was a bit much, given the reason why they did it. Because Jey Uso would have gave him a title shot either way, in my opinion. But nonetheless, the opening segment was great, and I really enjoyed what they did here. Afterwards, we end up getting Penta versus JD McDonough. Penta ends up winning. I'm only covering this, to be honest, is only because afterwards we end up getting it official that Penta and Dominic Mysterio are going to be at Backlash, which was very surprising because out of all the matches, I thought they would be Jey Uso and Logan Paul. That was going to be the match that was going to be confirmed for Backlash, but they made it Penta and Dominic Mysterio. So that match should be very interesting. Also, too, afterwards we end up getting AJ Styles. He basically ends up confronting Dominic, ends up saying that he's going to be coming after the Intercontinental Championship. So that's very interesting to see AJ Styles in the title picture again. They're finally finding something for him to do, which is crazy because AJ Styles is someone that I feel like shouldn't be that hard to book. Like he's not going to win anything significant, but like you could easily throw him in the mid card scene. Like it shouldn't be that hard to really find something for AJ to do. Have him feud with some upper mid card guys. I think it's interesting. Plus, you could stat pad Dominic Mysterio's title run, have him beat a couple of Hall of Famers to make his run a bit more impressive. So I like what they're doing here. I'm interested to see. I'm really interested to see what Dominic Mysterio can do with this Intercontinental Championship. Now we get Becky Lynch, man, and this was a really great segment. This segment is, bro. This feud with Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria has been cooking. It starts off with Becky basically saying that she doesn't understand why she's the bad guy. She ends up doing like a trash analogy, basically saying that she took out the trash, alluding to Bayley, and then she ends up alluding to Lyra Valkyria as recycled. She basically ends up saying that she's the reason why Lyra is where she is now. She basically made Lyra attach her career, and that Lyra wouldn't be where she's at without Becky Lynch. Lyra comes out, and she ends up responding back. She ends up saying that she says that Becky Lynch has been recycling the same gimmick for the past few years. She ends up saying that everything she has earned has been without Becky Lynch, which is I guess from a kayfabe perspective, technically is true, but realistically, no. I'm sorry, no, no. Part of the reason why she's in the position is due to Becky Lynch. She worked hard for it. I love Lyra, but part of the reason why you're getting this push is due to Becky Lynch. But from a kayfabe perspective, I understand it. But then she ends up alluding to how Becky Lynch ended up saying last week that the championship needs her. Lyra responds back, ends up saying that she has defended that title more than she's been on, more than she came to work this year, which was a very good line. Lyra Valkyria was in her bag in this promo. She was really good. The fact that people actually thought that Lyra Valkyria couldn't cut a promo is ridiculous. Now, this is her best promo. Yeah, I always said she was okay on the microphone. I never said she was great. But even this surprised me. This was great. Towards the end of the promo, she ends up saying that Becky Lynch needs to get used to being second place. Becky tries to attack, but ends up failing. They end up going back and forth. But towards the end of the brawl, Lyra Valkyria does get the upper hand, and she ends up hitting her finisher, the Nightwing, and she stands tall. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that match plays at Backlash. I would say that match should be great, but I'm not going to say that because last time they had a match at Halloween Havoc, I thought that was going to be a banger of a match, and the match wasn't bad. It was a good match. It just wasn't a banger. So I'm not going to say it was going to be a banger match because I don't want to get my expectations too high. But the match itself should be good. I'm assuming Becky Lynch is going to win due to how this brawl ended up ending, but nonetheless, I'm excited. I think either way, if Becky wins, it's a good way to continue the story. Or if Lyra wins, it works either way. Because probably Bayley is going to get some way back into this feud. Eventually, this is probably going to lead to some triple threats with Lyra eventually standing tall over both of them. Or you could just have Lyra win, continue to feud, Becky continue to chase, and you could still do the triple threat eventually. Because some way Bayley is going to get involved in this feud eventually. So either way, this feud is cooking. This is what I've been wanting from Jade and Naomi. Why can't they just do this with Jade and Naomi? Like, I don't understand it. Like, why can't Jade and Naomi just do this? Now, I'm not saying it's going to be as good because Jade and Naomi are two different mic workers, so I'm not saying it's going to be the exact same, but this is all I've been asking for the women's division. More promo time. Now, the reason why they're only getting this is because of Becky Lynch, but this is all I ask for. Just give the women a microphone, have them build up feuds, and they could create magic. And this is what we're getting. This is great. Afterwards, we end up getting Io Sky versus Roxanne Perez. This was a good, solid match. Io Sky picks up the victory. After the match, though, we ended up getting another attack from Julia and Roxanne Perez, but no one came out to save Io this time, which I'm actually happy with, because I'm glad that Rhea Ripley didn't come out for the save. And it actually makes sense, because Io Sky doesn't have any allies. Dakota Kai is released, and Asuka and Kairi Sane are injured, apparently, so, well, I know they've been injured for a while, but they're still injured. So, yeah, it makes sense for Io Sky not to really have any friends, because who would be her friend on Monday Night Raw? So it makes sense that no one came to save her. And I like what they're doing here. Now, does it make sense for Roxanne and Julia to be friends all of a sudden? Not really. But I like what they're doing here. I have some faith in what they're doing here only because they're in a main event scene and at least they're trying something. At least they're trying something with Roxanne and Julia. This isn't like a Carmelo Hayes situation where they're just doing random stuff out of nowhere. At least they're trying. So I will give them credit here and I'm interested to see where this goes. Now, I know some people was upset that Roxanne lost this match, but to be fair, she's not beating a world champion. It just wouldn't make sense for a world champion to lose this match in a non-title match. So, I'm not mad at it, even though I would love for Roxanne to win, but I knew she was going to win this match. But I'm interested to see where this story goes eventually. Now we end up getting Rusev versus Otis, and this is very interesting because Rusev, of course, picks up the victory. He's not losing his very first singles match. But after the match, though, he continues to put Otis in the submission. Then he ends up leaving the ring. Tozawa wanted to fight him, but he ends up pretending like he wasn't going to fight him. But he comes back in the ring, attacks Tozawa, and continues to brutally attack Otis. I actually like this. I actually think this storyline can actually go somewhere, and I like that Rusev is a heel, because him being a babyface, I just don't see how that will work, especially on Raw of all places, because you have Jey Uso. Well, I guess Jey Uso is the only top babyface on Raw, technically, but I just don't know where he would fit as a babyface on Raw. The only way I can see that working is if he goes after Dominic Mysterio, but you have Penta doing that right now, so I don't know. But I like this. This isn't the same thing, but I can see it being somewhat similar to like Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed. I feel like this feud can low-key replicate some of that. And they did a good job showcasing this of Rusev just constantly attacking Otis security, trying to break him. I like what they're doing here. This has a lot of potential. I actually think this can work, especially with Otis being the over sympathetic babyface, because Otis is still very over with the crowd. So I think this can actually work. So I'm actually interested to see where this storyline actually goes. Now we end up getting Gunther and Pat McAfee. They cut their promo. Not gonna really go over this promo segment too much. The promo segment was actually really good. It actually got me excited for the match. But basically, Pat McAfee ends up basically saying that Gunther doesn't treat wrestling as a dream anymore. He treats it as a work, and that he basically got too complacent and got too comfortable, and that's why he ended up losing to Sammy, and that's why he lost to Jay, and that's basically what's going to happen at Backlash. He's going to lose to he's going to lose at Backlash. Gunther responds back. He basically ends up responding back. Basically ends up saying that he's going to be 100% focused, and he's going to basically destroy Pat McAfee, and that he's basically going to choke Pat McAfee out, and he won't let go. This was a really good promo, really great back and forth. This is Gunther just keeps impressing me on the microphone. This is really great. I'm not gonna really go over it, but I am somewhat excited for that match at Backlash. I'm just hoping that WWE don't do what I think they probably would do, is make it a competitive match when we all know that this is probably should be a swash match basically. So I'm interested to see what happens at Backlash though. Now we get the main event, man. The main event: Jey Uso for the Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. This match this match was great. This match was great. Now, I think people are overrating this match to a degree. This match was great mainly due to the interferences. I will say that. It was a good match overall, but the interferences really helped. The first interference started off with Braun Breaker when Seth Rollins was distracting the referee. Braun Breaker was able to distract the ref. He was able to allow Seth Rollins to hit the curb stomp, but but Jey Uso kicks out. Then you end up getting Sami Zayn, if I'm not mistaken. Sami Zayn comes out. He ends up taking out Braun Breaker. Jey Uso ends up getting the upper hand on Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins ends up kicking out of the, because he ends up doing the spear into the Uso splash, but he ends up kicking out. Then you get Braun Breaker recovering, hits a spear on Sami Zayn. Then they end up cheating again because they end up cheating again because Braun Breaker was able to spear Jey Uso, brings it back in the ring. Seth Rollins, I think, did a curb stop again, but then you end up getting CM Punk coming out before Seth Rollins could get the pin. He takes out Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins, and that's how we end the show. This was great. This was a great Monday Night Raw. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I'm assuming that since CM Punk is back on Raw now, that they're probably going to have Seth Rollins be away from the title picture, because CM Punk is going to make sure Seth Rollins doesn't get the world title. Because it would make sense to make this into like a triple threat thing. Now, I think they're going to do like a, not exactly like a Swerve and Hangman storyline, but they could do some similarities where CM Punk is just going to make sure that Seth Rollins can't get what he wants due to, of course, what happened with Paul Heyman and stuff. So I'm interested to see where this story could go. This story could go a lot of ways. I'm very interested, but you guys let me know your thoughts and opinions below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.